If I grab every color here and mix it in a bowl, which would be inclusive of green, I come up with black. That's why you've been trained to see black as a color. You've been trained to see black as a color because they've also given you a definition of black, which is swarthy and bad and ugly and evil and Dracula. And you know what I'm saying? That's a psychological profiling that they've done to monotype, a stereotype. They name me and you as the one kind of character, bad. They call us stereotypes. Stereo is true. We are stereo beings, God and man, not mono beings. But they have the whole world thinking all that people liars, thieves, crooks, etc., etc., etc. All that is shaded around identifying black as a color and not as a state of existence. On which colors are born, because black is there. Now, whether stars are shining or not, blackness is there. Regardless of the colors of the stars, white stars, red stars, green stars, blue stars, depending on their illumination qualities and what reflects off them, the blackness will remain. When you cut the lights on in the room, the blackness remains. When you cut the light off in the room, the energy is still in the room, unless you go downstairs and throw the fuse box out. So the energy of the light is in the room, but the black won't allow it to shine until you turn on a certain switch. Certain things that mean this the same at all times. But all the other colors are in the light. When the light comes on, the chaos stops.
Roll back, Moisar. Roll back. Okay. We are back. Rahul Bat. To all those who be with us live today, and Rahul Bat to all those who are watching the recording. Kabul, Moisar, welcome. Kabul means welcome. Kabul. Let's see. We are back. All right. Another week of Wu-Sabat. You know. But that's what's up. That is what's up. But roll back. Hey, what's up, Jacob? Roll back. Good to see you. All right. Okay. All right, let's get ourselves situated. Okay, now, for those who do not know me, my name is Petty Sina Teptu Re'e, and I've been over a 30-year student teacher of the profound doctrine of the master teacher, known to us as Panabab Yananan, also known as Dr. Malachi Z.K. York, who has been teaching us our ancient culture we identify as Wu-Sabat, also known as Wu-Nawap. In essence, the culture, it stands for those who make decisions based on sound right reasonability, based on the principles of Ma'at, based on the wisdom of the Hutri. In essence, what that's all about is it's about Wu-Sabat means being able to make decisions based on sound right reasonability, being in harmony with nature. Our ancestors lived in harmony with nature. They lived at peace with natural nature. This was our original culture. Our original culture that has become outlawed almost 2,500 years ago by the Greeks, who began to outlaw this culture of Wu-Sabat. And we argue that the challenges that Black people all over the globe, Black African people, the woolly children of woolly hair, the challenges we've been suffering from is due to the fact that we got away from our original culture, our original way of doing things. And ever since we did that, we have been suffering, especially for the last 500 years under racism, white supremacy. We have really been suffering. And we argue that the suffering is due to the fact that we have embraced cultures that were never designed for us. And the only way we're going to begin to fix ourselves is to get back to a way of life, a culture, and principles that are designed to work for us, that is designed to empower us. And this is the culture of Wu-Sabat. And the master teacher, Dr. Malachi Z.K.O., has been re-educating us about our ancient culture for over 50 some odd years. And I'm just one of many student teachers around the globe who are trying our best to help our people become re-educated about this culture and how we can begin to correct our lives for the better by giving up the old culture, Western culture, for our new culture, for our old culture, our ancient culture, Wu-Sabat, And so I always like to make a disclaimer. I'm not above making any kind of errors or mistakes. So if I do, please do not hesitate to correct me. I have no problem in being corrected, because we're all on the journey together. So I try my best. I do my best in this process. With that being said, we start every class with our prayer system, which is extremely important. Our prayer system is designed for our own spiritual development. And we did a lecture on that. So if anyone's want to get familiar on why we do the prayer systems, and we do chanting, and we have many different rituals designed to develop yourself spiritually. And prayer is one of those rituals that are designed to develop yourself spiritually. And this is why we do it, And so we do it in our language called Sabaic, right? Our language called Sabaic. And you have the English translation. So I'll read it in our language Sabaic, then I'll translate it for you. Okay. So we always tell people to learn the language. The language is what sets the tone for culture. It's what help free our minds, away from the foreign cultures. So that I think that's important. But with that being said, let's get started. Bade kalal namasat wufad ko amad kasamun shalal pu'ut. Panen safa kawun pa sawa wu pa tara. Z kawuna nazula laha enkum maneh saba'at wu sa'at. Ameh hade an shafe'un maneh salafu wu nataru. Ajula ya nafasu kum afuk shane kawun kuma pa sawa wu pa tara. This book is the truth and the way. It was sent down for you all from Sabat Wu-Sabat, star constellation, as a guidance and a healing, from your ancestors and overseers. Return to your own, accept what is yours, the truth and the way. Anun tawa ankum laha panan shafe'un wu alaj. Anun tawa ankum laha nasuinun. Anun tawa ankum laha ashuk. Ankum after salafunun. Anun after khara'ukum. Anun talub nasakuma. Anun talub nasakuma. And so nun sayim nataru. And so nun salafunun. Anun after musba'u. We thank you all for this healing and cure. We thank you all for not forgetting us. We thank you all for Ashuk. You are our ancestors. We are your children. We seek your help. We seek your help. Help us, divine overseers. Help us, our ancestors. We are Musba'u. Anun. Atun. 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 moon. Jet in the 4. Alrighty then. Okay. All right. So now, let's see. What we do in the beginning of every discussion, we go over the principles of Wu-Sabat. So for those who are new to our lectures and watching our discussions for the first time, we always go over our principles because of the simple fact that all of our discussions are based around these principles, right? And the principles is what we live by. And so it is imperative that people comprehend the principles, really deeply understand these principles so that they can begin to apply them into their day-to-day lives. And this is how you begin to correct your lifestyle from negative to positive, to correcting positive changes in our lives for the better, because we argue our culture is the solution to the problem. You know, the problem with our people is their day-to-day decisions that create their conditions, and your day-to-day decisions is based on the culture that you live. And when you find yourself in adverse conditions, is due to the culture. And that's what we've been, discussing for so long, trying to educate our people on. You correct your culture, you correct the results of your life from being, again, from having an adverse life, which is what we're dealing with around the globe, to a positive, beneficial lifestyle. And so it all starts with culture. We can't stress that enough. So the core principles is where it's at. So the core principles of Wu-Sabat / Wu Nawab. The first principle is Ashak, stands for divine love, or we say the power of love. We did a discussion on that, so we definitely tell people always check that lecture out. Definitely, if you've never seen it, you have to check it out. And we always say watch our videos at least. I would recommend at least 3 times for your own edification. Principle number 2 is resurrection. Resurrection is about us becoming goddesses and gods once again by learning to open our third eye. Our ancestors had that third eye, which gave you spiritual insight. We did lectures on that, so definitely check that lecture out. It's extremely imperative that you understand that concept of resurrection. It's an African principle. Principle number 3 is the wisdom of the Hutri and Ma'at. The Hutri stands for our divine mind, and Ma'at stands for order, right? Our moral code, which was what Ma'at was all about. Again, we did lectures on that, so definitely check those discussions out. Principle number 4 is relationships. As an African people, we always lived of, for, and by each other. We were a tribal people. We did not live capitalism, socialism, Marxism, communism, whatever the isms that came with the Europeans. We have to give those things up. It does not work for us, right? And we did a lecture on that, so I highly recommend checking that discussion out. Principle number 5 is morphic resonance / matrix. Morphic resonance deals with sounds, tones, frequencies, vibrations. All of existence is based on morphic resonant fields that create matrices, are the manifestations of these morphic resonance. Principle number 6 is Leviathan. Leviathan stands for moon culture, aka religion, aka Western culture. This is what we learned from living with the Mukasa, the Europeans. They live their culture is the culture of Leviathan, and we argue that this is what's plaguing the planet. This is why we have so much destruction and death and mayhem on a planet, because of this culture. And we did lectures on that. We have many books on that, so we highly recommend people really to study this principle that we're teaching Leviathan. It's the cause of all of our problems, in fact. Principle number 7 is soul and spirit. Your soul is your emotional force. Your spirit is your life force. We did discussions on that, so definitely check that out. Principle number 8 is health, right? The key to health, we say first, is a positive mind. As melanated children of melanin, we need sunlight, a lot of sunlight. We're not getting that anymore. The body's 70% water, so water is key. Fasting, we recommend fasting at least once or twice a week, right? The herbal diet, something Dr. Sabi taught us about. Exercising, everyone know that's key to health. Learning rhythmic breathing, that's another thing our people don't know about. Rhythmic breathing, we have books on that, so definitely look into that. Meditation, concentration, prayer, and chanting. Health, as we keep saying, is not just physical, doing things physically, but health is also spiritual. Okay, you can't have one without the other. And we are arguing our people are suffering from some serious health issues around the world because we forgot this knowledge that health was about being in balance, physical and spiritual. And principle number 9 is Pa'ut, the creative force. Is existence. The name we use that our ancestors use is Pa'ut, existence. And existence is based on what we call a smat, the cycles of nature, you know, and the energy of existence that grew everything is achach. And it translates into ether. So that's extremely important. Okay, now, with all that being said, for all those who are students of Wu-Sabat, we had 3 primary goals of all students of Wu-Sabat. Goal number 1 is to raise the self. Goal number 2 is to fight Leviathan. And goal number 3 is to work to build Sabbatia. Now, in goal number 1 in raising the self, we teach his first thing is to be born again, as the Christians teach, giving up the old culture, Western culture, and relearning your culture of Wu-Sabat, right? Learn it, live it. And in doing that, one of the first things you want to do is correct your name, right? We teach that, correct your name, get away from the names that we took on of foreigners and get back to the names of our ancestors. Correct how you look and dress. Your dress code is important. And when it comes to culture, learn to speak our language. Language is key. We highly recommend studying our doctrine every day. This is how you build your sound right reasoning skills. This is what's going to help you in your decision making. And then you must practice and master our daily rituals, which is designed to turn yourself inside out. This is how you open your third eye, through the rituals, through the spiritual rituals. Is extremely imperative. And always be positive. Always be positive. Number 2, our second goal is fighting Leviathan. This is what we're at war with, right? Fighting Leviathan. This includes working to free Panda Bab Yunanin, promoting Wu-Sabat, become a student teacher, and fight the 6 strongest weapons of Leviathan, which are ignorance. Leviathan feeds off our ignorance, our fears, our ego, our anger, our lust/desires, and lies/deceptions. This is what's been destroying us, because these are the principles, unfortunately, our people have grown accustomed to living by. Got to give this up, guys. And our last goal is number 3, work to build Sabbatia. That's getting our own lands back so we can begin to really live our culture. So we say we work to support each other in business. We help each other reach positive goals. We help to build our culture. We must set up a landing zone for Panathato in Africa, which means we need land in Africa that would be supported by an African government, guys. Extremely important. And Ashuk is the key to accomplish all our goals. Now, what does it mean to be a Sabaean? A Sabaean is someone who is thoughtful and cares, someone who is helpful and honest, someone who is responsible and hardworking, someone who demands justice and honorable, someone who is righteous and humble, someone who is positive and cheerful, someone who's loving and peaceful, someone who's kind and considerate, someone who is neat, clean, and orderly. This is what we used to be. Unfortunately, we've lost these principles. We've lost our moral codes, guys. And this is why we stress these things. We must learn to live by our moral codes, and we must teach this to our people again. Now, our purpose as Sabaeans is to liberate ourselves from adverse forces. This is what we're supposed to be doing each and every day, working to liberate ourselves from adverse forces. And so doing, number 1, we must take action each and every day to free ourselves of 6 ether spirits inside and out, which includes Black people who are possessed by these spirit forces. Number 2, acknowledge and fight 6 ether from promoting capitalism, the gay agenda, miscegenation, the so-called equality of the races, and racism, white supremacy. And number 3, learn, live by, and promote the laws/rules of natural nature, and each one teach one. Guys, you're obligated to each one teach one. All right. Word of advice: do not judge this doctrine by watching the behavior of Panda Bab Yanana nor his students. Judge this doctrine by the effectiveness of the information, aka information, that you personally put to practical use. This doctrine is based on self-authentication. Now, we also say, know that we are not preachers, but teachers who are dedicated to answering questions until there's a meeting of the minds between the teacher and the student, who then can work in unity, which is the only solution to our problems, guys. And quotes, these are important quotes I found. Here. What you do for yourself in kind depends on what you think of yourself in kind. What you think of yourself in kind depends on what you know of yourself in kind. And what you know of yourself in kind depends on what you was taught and by whom of yourself in kind, guys. And the next one is, until the lion has their historians, the hunter will always be the hero. And last, the negative mind talks of what it can't or will not do for self and kind, always complaining about who they don't like or trust. Whereas the positive mind always maintains the peace by not complaining about that which they do not like, but focus on finding solutions to their problems, never allowing obstacles to get in their way of growth. Okay? So I hope all of that helps and is taken to heed. All right. With all of that being said, today's discussion is, it's not a formal discussion like we usually do, but the topic today is about ontology. Ontology as being a Sabaean, as being a student of Wu-Sabat, being a Nawapian, we are ontologists. We are ontologists. And the master teacher had introduced this concept to us. We put out 2 books, actually. This is Actual Facts number 13, and it's called Nawapian Ontologists of Time, right? Nawapian Ontologists of Time. And so we're going to get into this principle of what ontology is and what this is about. And what does it mean to be a Nawapian ontologist or a Sabaean ontologist? We're going to get into this. Okay. And so, with that being said, let's see. The first thing I like to do is have a video that goes into what is ontology. And I think it's pretty good to give somewhat of an explanation on the word itself. Okay. So let's do that.
Let me give you a general introduction to the word and the concept. What is ontology? Let me give you a general introduction to the word and the concept. The word itself comes from 2 Greek words, namely onto, which means existence or being real, and logia, which means science or study. And
okay, so just real quick, as you can see on the screen there, ontology, as he has it broken down into two in essence words. He has onto, and that translate as existence. So this is the Greeks, because it's a Greek word, but it's an African doctrine. For those who do not know, Greek so-called philosophy, their teachings, which is why it's really philosophy, their education comes out of Kemet. Greek education comes out of Kemet. It's imperative that you know, because the Mukasu loves to hide that. I always recommend, there's a Mukasa by the name of Martin Bonal. Martin Bonal. He was a professor. Very important, you guys look into him. And he wrote a book called Black Athena. Black Athena. And the book was about this reality that the origin of the Greek culture, according to the Greeks he was teaching, their culture comes from Kemet, or Egypt, as they called it. That Greek culture was originally Egyptian culture, that it was the Egyptians who taught them. So this is Martin Bonal on the screen here. You can look him up, and I do recommend studying the things he talks about. He wrote a series of books on this subject matter, that Greek culture comes out of Kemet. And he cites the Greeks. Tons of Greeks were explaining that this is where they learned. This is how this is how they got educated. Of course, the majority of the Caucasian historians don't want to admit that. They don't want to acknowledge it. In fact, they gave this man a hard time for putting this information out. They despised him for it. But this guy was a top scholar. He was an educator for Cornell University. So he was a professor at Cornell, one of the most prestigious universities in the United States, who supported his thesis. So it's imperative that you guys know that. So I don't want anyone to get confused why we bring up words that are Greek in origin or appear to be Greek in origin, but they're really African in origin. Okay? So that's why I wanted to bring that up. Now, getting back to what we were talking about, this word ontology. Okay, so it's the study of existence. This is what the word is all about. It's the study of existence. Okay, so that's extremely important that you guys understand that concept. Now, when you are trying to comprehend existence, then that means you must comprehend what we call the SMAT circle, because the SMAT circle that I have up here is a diagram that explains existence. It is a diagram that explains existence, and this is what we're going to get into. We're going to try to touch on this concept of the SMAT circle in deep. And just for those who do not know, the SMAT is an acronym. It stands SMAT. S stands for space, M stands for matter, A stands for and T stands for time. So space, matter, and time cycle. The master teacher introduced us into this concept in the 60s and 70s when he put out a series of books called the Bible Interpretations and Explanations and the 9 Ball series. This is when he introduced these concepts to us. And then he began to really teach us about these concepts in the 90s, 92. This is when we were introduced or reintroduced back into our culture of NoopooH around 92. And he's been educating us about these concepts ever since, trying to bring us back unto our ontological mind that we used to have. Remember, ontology is the study of existence. And this is what the master teacher was educating us about, existence. We used to know this. We forgot this. This was universal knowledge, or this was omniversal knowledge we used to know about existence. Unfortunately, we forgot. We forgot our original culture. We forgot our way of doing things. But this is the day and time of remembrance, right? So let's get back to this video real quick. It's not long. It's very short, actually, but it's kind of very important because there's some interesting concepts here in this word and trying to comprehend what this word is all about. But remember, ontology is the study of existence. It's imperative that you guys know that, right? So then it goes on to say the word is used in 2 settings. The word ontology is used both in a philosophical and non-philosophical context. Okay, so I'm going to pick up here. Let me adjust my mic.
The word ontology is used both in a philosophical context and a non-philosophical context. And let's start with the former. Ontology in a philosophical context. Well, it's basically the study of what exists, what is being real, what is real. And examples of philosophical ontological questions could be, what are the fundamental parts of the world? And how are they related to each other? Are physical parts more real than immaterial concepts? For example, are physical objects such as shoes more real than the concept of walking? And in terms of what exists, what is the relationship between shoes and walking? And why is ontology important in philosophy? Well, philosophers use this concept of ontology to discuss questions, to build theories and models, and to consequently better understand the ontological status of the world. And over time, there's been two major branches: ontological materialism and ontological idealism. Materialism, from a philosophical perspective, is the belief that material things such as particles, chemical processes, and energy are more real than, for example, the human mind. So the overall belief within ontological materialism is that reality exists regardless of a human observer. And in ontological idealism, on the other hand, the belief is that immaterial phenomena such as the human mind and the consciousness are more real than the material things. And the belief here is that the reality is constructed in the mind of the observer.
Okay, now this is a very important point that he just went over. He broke the concept of ontology down into two parts, as you guys can see on the screen here. One part is materialism, thought, and the other part they call it idealism, thought. Now that is when they divest. This is why it became philosophy, right? They took an African science. The science was called noon. The culture was called noon. And this is where NoopooH, same thing. Wu-Sabat, same thing. They took the culture of noon. They called it noose. We talked about this last week. Okay. Now, they took the culture of noon and they divided it. And they divided it into what they call materialism and as you see on the screen, idealism. Now look at the word idealism. Idealism. It's one of those trick words of, you can have the ideal conditions. You may not have those conditions, but ideally you would like things to be this way or you would like things to be that way. So in essence, what they're trying to say, it's not real. This is why they use the word immaterial. You see, this idealism is the belief that immaterial phenomenon. Immaterial is another word they use where it's not important. And so also, because the word immaterial has a dual meaning in their language. It means not important, but it's also another word for spirituality. So when they're saying immaterial, they're also talking about spiritual concepts. That's why they say the immaterial phenomena such as the human mind and consciousness. So they're trying to, this is why the Mukaso, they're having a hard time trying to comprehend consciousness. They have leaned towards materialism. That's what their culture is all based on. Their whole systems are based on materialism. And when you start researching their philosophers of the 16th century, the 17th century, the 18th century, all of those guys who were philosophers were moving towards materialism and teaching that all that matters is matter, the materials of the earth, and they ignore spirituality. And that's not what the culture of noon was all about. That's not what we were teaching. They took our doctrine and it basically was altering the concepts that we were teaching. And it went from acknowledging existence being spiritual in nature, or another word for spiritual is energy, because I don't like using that word spiritual because it makes people think religion. And we're talking about that existence is based on different levels of energy. Existence is based on different levels of energy, and material objects are also energy based as well. They're just of a lower vibration of energy. And they now know that because of quantum mechanics. Quantum mechanics taught them that everything has an energy signature. Everything is made up the protons, electrons, neutrons. Is based on an energy. All material phenomena. So now this is why the big topic in science today is what is consciousness. That's the biggest thing that they're talking about, guys. This is something we've been said. That's why in the schools of the wisdom of the Hutri, right? We taught all is mind. We knew what existence was about because we were the ontologists. So it is imperative that you guys are familiar with this terminology. So now, with that being said, let's go back to the book. So the master teacher wrote a book on it, Actual Facts, number 13, and it's called Nuwapian Ontologists of Time. Remember, ontologies means the study of existence. Okay. So the master goes into saying here, he says, this is Pa Nathar, Amun Nub Ra'ach Pata Shelel Pa Hanut. I am Amun, the first of 6 sons of Patatum and Sachem Moat, as Pata Wu Nunet. The 5 brothers were called Sakar, Hab or Happy, and Sabak, and Yim Hutip, and Dehutri. And this is an image of the 6 sons, right? So you have Amun, which represents the master teacher, guys, for those who do not know. You have Sakar, you have Happy, and you have Sabak, and you have Yim Hutep and Dehutri, guys. Now, I am remembered as Amun to become Amun Re, also Amun Roy or Amun Ra, called by Sumerian Morduk, by those who don't really know time. I come from beyond the stars, yet you do know my star system is Sedeptu and Sahu, right? Then he goes on to say, and these are the symbols of my inner Re'at, sons, 3 for you to see. And so these are the symbols. One represents Khufu, which is a 999 symbol. The other is Khafre, which is 999 symbol. And the other is Minkare, which is 999 symbol. And 999 symbol is also symbolic of 1000 you have here. And then you have the 3 by 3 by 3. You add that up and it comes back to 9. So now he has the smack circle here. Okay. And so just give you an idea, this is one image of the smack circle, because if you're looking at this particular image, you can see that this is a breakdown where you see the realms of Nupu versus the realms of Zupu. So it's imperative that you understand that. But now going back to this breakdown in this particular book, as you see, it starts at 3 is on the bottom, 3 south, and 3 represents the realm of 3 ether energy, the realm of the 3rd density, which is where we are existing as humanity on Earth. Earth and this universe is a 3 ether universe. It's vibrating on a 3 ether frequency, and it's moving. This circle moves counterclockwise, and we're moving into a 4 ether realm. Okay, we're moving into a 4 ether realm, and the master explained it's gonna within the next, because we're in the new sun cycle, and we're in the next revolution of the next 24,000 years. It's going to take another 1,000 years by the year 3000 for it to fully integrate with a 4 ether realm on this planet. For those who survive on this planet, the energies and the vibrations, the planet's going to get extremely more hot, and it's going to get more hot. We're going to get into that a little bit, but we're moving into this higher realm. So it's imperative that you guys understand this concept with the smack. And this is how the universe operates, guys. The universe is based on the changing of the energies from a 3 ether realm, moving to a 4 ether, 5 ether, 6, all the way up to 9, which is the highest. And we come from this realm, the 9. All Black African people's origin is from the realm of 9. It is imperative that everyone understands that. So let's keep going. So he says that the digit 3 is called a number in supreme mathematics of ontology. Like all other numbers, it can have many meanings and represent many things, such as sun, moon, and earth, neutral gender, male and female, gases, liquids, and solids, or 9-ether, 6-ether, and ghosts. Okay. Yet in religion of the Pahika Chatsut, or the Canaanite, or the Mukasu, the Caucasian race, it became Father, Son, and Holy Ghost to them. And it says 3 divided by 1 equals their God, right? The 3 and 1. 1 as 3, which is not mathematically possible. A lie of the liars, he says. So you see 333 or 333% of the complete number 1,000. 333% of 1,000 is the Hika Chasut, or the Mukasu's limit of mentality. For original mortals, it is 666. And for the Nagaru, it is 999. This is why I was saying the Mukasu, when they was getting our culture, and they was learning about the culture of Noon, the Greeks, they couldn't deal with the spiritual concepts of it because their level of intellect, their level of intellect doesn't go up that high. They can't perceive it. And that's why they started this. That's why they became obsessed with materialism. Again, this is why that culture is based on capitalism, it was based on materialism. Everything about the Mukasu is materialism. That's why they don't think nothing of destroying the planet, because they don't understand the spiritual implications of what they're doing. They don't understand the high sciences of being in harmony with nature itself. They're not connected. They're disconnected, in fact, because they don't have the intellect to connect them to these high levels of consciousness. So it's imperative that, we understand their behavior. So we got to ask the question, why are we copying them? Why is our people copying their culture? This is things they need to know, that the Mukasu level of intellect is limited. And I'm talking about their so-called scientists. They can't even figure out consciousness. Research it, guys. They're having a hard time with that. Something that should be simple, but it's not. We go on to say, at this point, you Nuwapian ontologists of supreme mathematics, you're real true scientists of facts, and only the facts of being. You will now deal with 3 as it pertains to the Hika Chasut, the Mukasu, the cursed seed of Canaan. In Egypt, they were called the Kefiu of the land of Canaan, which was called Rejetnu. These cursed leopards invaded ancient Egypt over time, never invited, and spread many diseases by mixing their seed and accepting our culture. You see that? They got into our culture and realized that the Hika Kasu is your Greeks, which is also your Jews. That's a whole nother thing. But let's keep going. They are wrongly called the white race or the white people. It should be transparent race or ghost people because their skin is see-through. Therefore, the albino race or Caucasoid race are in fact the last of the original 3 races. You have the Negroid, the first, the Mongoloid, the second, and the Caucasoid, the third. So their number is 3. Okay. Then it said the Caucasian race is the posterity of ghosts. They are called white people for that reason, ghosts appear to be white or haze. They call themselves fair in complexion. They say white skin is fair skin. The very English word today in their dictionary lists fair as beautiful or ample, blonde, unblemished, moderate, just, honest, favorable. It's really another one of their many trick knowledge words, just like how they use the word lie. We all know what a lie is and who lies or liars. A little white lie is okay, they say. Now look at how they misuse it. They hold their Bible or Quran up and say, herein lies the truth. Or you can rely on this. Rely. Look at the word. So they confuse the word truth. The true meaning is herein are lies, not the truth. He is a liar by his very nature. Their own God in flesh says that in their own gospel, John chapter 8, verse 44, and Revelations chapter 9, chapter 2, verse 9, and 3, verse 9. Also, the word fear is misused as being fear or looking fear as related to good, pretty, light skin. It started with their mistranslation of the Hebrew word, which is tob. It means good as opposite to ra'ah, which means bad. Then you have this good is good at something, not the best, just good. It's also an Arabic word, tayyib, meaning good or okay. Now, in their Bible, Genesis chapter 6, verse 2, they state that the Bain Elohim, or the sons of gods, saw the Bath Adam, daughters of earthlings, that they were told or doing good, fear at it. And they took them wives, all which they chose. And the word found there in Hebrew is the word tob. Good is as in doing something good or good at what they are doing, and does not mean light skin as the Caucasian race. These women were being chosen by, as their Bible says, Genesis 6:2, that Bain Elohim, the sons of God, which is judges, Elohim or gods, saw the daughters of men that they were good at what they were seeing them doing, and they took them wives of all which they chose. So Caucasians misuse the word fear to describe skin color when that is not what is meant in their Bible, not their dictionary. To call them fair is that to say they are not excellent. They are fair, not perfect, but fair. You can't completely see them. They are transparent like a spirit or specter or ghost. Or they're number 3. Ghost is 3 among the conscious gases because it appears in a circle of time and existence at the position of the number 3. The wheel of time and existence. That is time and the many changes that time produces in matter. So in all time is circle as revolving and rotation of mass coming of sun's light or birth of hydrogen into helium to birth forth out of dark space, dark matter, and a bang or sound. So what he's trying to say here is he's talking about the circle of time, the smack circle, guys. And he says that ghosts right here, or their number 3, ghosts is 3 among conscious gases because it appears on a circle of time and existence at the position of 3. So these ghost forces come into existence when the universe comes to the position of a 3 ether cycle. This is what he's trying to explain here. So when you get down to the 3 ether cycle, because everything rotates, guys, the earth rotates, the sun rotates, the galaxy rotates, the universe rotates. And it not only rotates, but also travels in a cycle. And so in order for a universe to go from 3 all the way around this smack circle, it takes a total of 72 million years. So what happens is every time the universe gets to the position of the 3 ether cycle, it's the birth of the ghost forces or the ghost spirit force energies. It's no different than what happens on this planet. Okay, we live in on a planet that has 4 seasonal cycles. So we have the summer cycle, that turns into the fall cycle, that turns into the winter cycle, that turns into the spring cycle, and does it again. Well, the universe does the same thing. As above, so below. Everything in existence is based on these cycles. Your body is based on cycles. Your cells spin in cycles. The electron moves around the proton and the neutron. Everything in existence is based on cycles. These are the actual facts we used to know as ontologists about existence, and we forgot. And this is what we're trying to re-educate our people about. So again, when the universe gets to 3, this was the birth of the ghost forces that begin to plague the universe. And this is what the master teacher is trying to explain. So our origins is we exist in the 9. We're the children of 9 ether. And the Mukasu are the children, they're the spirit children of 3 ether, is what we're trying to say. Okay? So I hope that's understood. So let's keep going. All right, so now he goes on to say here he's talking about the SMAT circle here. Says this is how to determine the right combination of numbers to use on a circle. That is, the digits must be single and consecutive and must add up to 9. So you have 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, and when it gets to 3, and then it revolves, it goes back up to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And when you add that up, you get the number 72. And 7 plus 2 equals 9. 9 and the digits must divide the circle into 12 equal parts, like Pa Dendera. The Dendera was a temple in ancient Kemet where we had the signs of the so-called zodiac. Those are the symbols of the different changing cycles that our ancestors were in tune with, right? And the Mukasu was the one who came with the zodiac. So for it's Pa Dendera for the Nagato and the zodiac for the Mukasu, because the digits 1 and 2 are left out in order for the circle to add up to 9. Okay? The circle must add up to 9 because a perfect circle is 9 by nature. Evolution starts at 6. 6 on the left side of the circle of time and goes counterclockwise through 5, 4, and ends in 3. So let's go back, guys, up to the SMAT circle. So what he was saying is that the circle, right? So you have 3 and you add these numbers up. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Or he started at 9, actually. You go 9, and then he went from 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. And then he added 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And you add that up and you get the number 72. And that's why I said it takes 72 million years for the universe to go through all of these different cycles. And it's in each thing, if you look at it, it's broken up into 12 parts, right? Because you get right here, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 slices, like slices of pizza. Okay. And if you notice, if you compare one opposite of the cycle to the other opposite, so if you go from 3 to 9 and you add 9 plus 3, you get 12. You go here, 4, the opposite of 4 cycle is the 8. 8 plus 4 is 12. You go here, 5, the opposite of that is 7. 7 plus 5 is 12. And you keep going on. All around, you have 12. Okay? And so this is the supreme mathematics, and this is how the universe is go through these different cycles. And again, this is why we call ourselves ontologists. Ontology is what? The study of existence. And this is how existence operates. This is how the universe or the multiverse operates, guys. So I hope, you guys are getting this. So let me go back. This is something we, again, supposed to know, but we forgot. And the master teacher is re-educating us about that. So remember, he said at six, this is another important. 6 is the beginning of evolution, guys. 6 is the beginning of evolution. It's the beginning of the cycle of Leviathan. So when you look at this breakdown of the SMAT circle, right? That's why if you notice at 6, as it going down, we get to 6 west. This is where you're going into the realm of Zupu. You're going into the realm where 6 ether spirit forces come to power. When they hit this realm, they can't rule in the upper abodes. They can't rule in the realms of NoopooH. They only rule when it gets down to the realm of 6 west of Zupu or Amun, the hidden one. And this is where those types of 6 ether beings can exist in these realms, in these dimensional cycles, or different planes of existence. Because like most of the ETs that come here, they're coming here from either a 4 ether realm, a 5 ether realm, or a 6 ether realm. As the master teacher was explaining, like the reptilians, they come out of a 6 ether realm. Okay? It's imperative that we know that. And we're going to touch on that a little bit. So let me get back to the breakdown. So we go from here. All right, so 6 is the 6 ether cycle. When it gets to 6, it pushes the circle down on the left side, and 9 pulls it up on the right side, as you can determine by the diagram. So when it goes down to 6 to 3, when we hit 3, right, now it rotates back up, and 9, the 9 mind is what pulls the standards back. This is the beginning of our intellect. This is the realm of resurrection, where we resurrect back to our 9 minds. Because as we was in this evolutionary realm, we were losing our abilities and powers over time. It took a long time for us to drop down to where we are now, as we call ourselves the American Negro. You know, it took a long time for us to lose our abilities. Again, we really we lost our abilities in common sense 6,000 years ago. But we was in this cycle, this downward cycle, for 18 million years, guys. So it's imperative that we understand that. That's why the Mukasu don't want to tell you about no cultures beyond 6,000 years. He's trying to keep everyone locked in that timeline. And he keeps saying the oldest civilization is only 6,000 years old, blah, blah, blah. And I was talking about that last week, where that lie is beginning to be uncovered, and by your study at Mukasu Graham Hancock, who has been exposing that that's a lie, that there's many ancient civilizations that they're not telling the general public. So that's important, guys, to know. So let's keep going. So he goes to say, so in time, you are now at the end of 3 on the circle, and the Natharu forces 9 are now beginning to pull you Nawapians up by mind in time. So that's what I was just saying. We now have 9 knowledge, right knowledge, and it's beginning to correct our culture, which will pull up the standards. We're going to move into higher levels of standards of life in these realms, is what he's trying to explain to us. So he says the bottom half of the circle of time is 6, which is the realm of the dead. What, like I was saying, that bottom half, this is the realm. The bottom half is the realm of Zupu, right? The bottom half is the realm of Zupu, as you see on the diagram here. Okay, and the top half of the circle of time is the living. The living cycle is the realm of NoopooH. See, in the realm of NoopooH, there's no death. So the beings that exist in those realms and the dimensions, they don't go through a decay process. The beings in those realms do not go through a decay process, because that's all death really is. The body is decaying. Things that die, it decays, it deteriorates. In the higher realms, you don't go through a deterioration process, because the energies are all life-giving. The atmosphere is full of life-giving energies, so there's no decay process. The decay process doesn't happen until you get to 6 west, and that's the beginning of the decay cycle. This is the beginning of the death forces that come into existence, guys. So let's see. So it says, he talks about here, you have Hu, the Egyptian force of creative will. And he referred to the comprehensive dictionary of the gods. Page 85 talks about this word. The personify the authority of the word or tone, the sound of command. Hu is being. The tongue of Ptah. I was talking about that last week, called the Memphite theology, that we taught that our ancestor Ptah was the spoken word through his heart, right? His emotional force, his soul force, the heart represents that, and his tongue, which is tongue represents the tones, the energies of existence. Today's scientists call it the Big Bang. The bang is a tone. There was a sacred tone that came, that was the beginning of every universe. It starts with this tone, this sacred tone, or by way of the creative force called Hu, right? So you have Hu, and then you have Sia, which is the mental, all is mind, and Hika, which is the energies of existence, the materialization of existence. Okay, and these are the principles in Egyptian ontology. So you are now headed back towards living in mind. The mental bowl will open up the gateway to you, and your physical activities will follow. So say, you see, they will base time on Amun, or to them Amen, the end or sunset, on around to Atum, or sunrise. That is sunset, west, on the south around to sunrise, east. Yet they run their clocks backward from west upward and around on down to east, right? So guys, the way the clocks, here's the thing. Go look this up. If I had time, I would show it to you. You understand that the earth rotates on its axis, but the earth rotates in a counterclockwise rotation, guys. The sun also rotates on its axis, and the sun rotates in a counterclockwise rotation. Now, the earth rotates around the sun, and the earth rotates around the sun in a counterclockwise rotation. The universe also rotates, and the universe rotates in a counterclockwise rotation, as well as all of the galaxies. The galaxies rotate, and they rotate in a counterclockwise rotation. So ask yourself, if time, existence, everything is moving in a counterclockwise rotation, why does the Mukasu makes his clocks go the other way, clockwise? Because they're adverse to nature. That's why they do it. Everything they do is adverse to nature. Okay, because go research it. Decide anyone who knows anything about the rotations of how existence, everything moves in a counterclockwise position, guys, not in a clockwise position. But they do that so that you won't be able to clock time. They do that on purpose. Okay. And as ontologists, remember, an ontologist is someone who studies existence. An ontologist is supposed to know this. An ontologist is supposed to know what existence is all about. An ontologist is supposed to know how the universe operates, how the planet operates, how the multiverse operates. It's the study of existence. And as ontologists, as our ancestors were, these were things we were supposed to know. And they made sure that our culture was basically taken from us, guys. Okay, so it goes on to say, now the position of the other digits around a circle are determined by 9, because 9 being the highest digit. So its position must be at the top of the circle, or true clock of time. Also, notice also how motion is changed, that the digits 2 and 1 in cipher successfully reverse the rotation of the circle to a clockwise movement, which is the birth of their chaos in space, matter, and time. So now check this out, guys. You see this diagram? So this diagram on the top, there's two circles, one circle on the top, one circle on the bottom. The circle on the top is this circle right here. Okay. You're looking at this circle on the top. Don't get confused by the circle of NoopooH and Zupu. I'm talking about the main circle that NoopooH and Zupu is within, because notice the numbers. It starts from 3 to 9, okay? But now the master's talking about 3. It goes into a clockwise rotation, and it goes down to 0, or I said 1, 2, and 3. He's now talking about what we call primordial chaos. When the universe times out, the universe goes into it. Basically, the universe collapses on itself, and it goes into primordial chaos when the universe times out. And it goes in it, and now the universe goes into a clockwise rotation, right? Because there's no life in a universe when it's in those lower cycles like this. There is no life in these realms down here. It's in a chaos position. That's why it goes down to zero ether, right? So keep that in mind, so that, just so you guys know the difference. Okay. So it says they reverse universal movement to reverse the 9 ether to 6 ether from the lower cipher or Lucifer, which is what Lucifer means. Lu means primitive, right? And cipher circle, the lower cycles. And so the master is giving diagrams explaining, showing how these cycles are, work. And when you get into those lower realms are the realms of the adverse forces. Okay. So 6 ether spirit forces can reach up into the first abode or physical abode by your emotions, your actions, your feelings, your moods, your desires, your greed, your sexual habits, hunger, anger, ego, pride, hates, and all these are ruled by fears. It opens you up to surrender yourself to outside forces, just as blind faith, belief, religions, teachings based on faith leads to fear God, Allah, trust men who claim the books they call holy from a holy ghost, is all based on be careful what you do, or you will end up in a lower abode they call hell. There you will be tormented forever by what they say, fire, the same fire of their God, Allah, who was the burning bush that revealed the law to man of the Levite tribe they call Moses, or the child in their Bible, refer to Exodus chapter 3, verse 2, and Deuteronomy and everything else. Now, so here's what he's trying to say. These lower realms. This is where the demons, spirit forces reside. And our people get possessed, is what the master is trying to say. We are getting possessed by these lower forces because of our desires. This is why the planet is so negative, because once you get into the 3 ether realm where we're at, right? It's the 3 ether is connected also to the lower forces. And those lower forces are able to possess people who are existing in a 3 ether cycle. For those who live in these cycles, like us humans, we're trapped in this cycle, because, guys, every cycle, or excuse me, every abode, whether it be a 4 ether realm, a 5 ether realm, a 6 ether realm, all the way up, you have beings existing in all of these different realms. So it's important that you guys know that we just happen to be in a realm in 3 ether. Liken it to the concept of Thor, the movie Thor. His realm, where the realm of Asgard, the Asgardians would be like in a 4 ether realm, right? They'd be like in a 4 ether realm or a 5 ether realm, Asgard. So if you notice, the Asgardians, they have longer lifespans, they have more abilities, they can do things that mortals cannot do. That's down here on the 3 ether realm. That's kind of what they're trying to show in that movie, the Thor movies. And for those who haven't seen it, it's imperative you guys watch that, so you can get an idea of what I'm saying. Okay. And you can see the difference between the realm that Thor comes from, the Asgardians, They have more capability than humans. They're stronger. They're faster. They live longer because they live in the higher realm. They live in a realm where the ethers, the energies are more potent, more vibrant. So they're not susceptible to the same death forces that someone who's stuck on a 3 ether realm is. So I hope, I hope that helps, guys, right? So now, where we at? Okay, so now I want to kind of probably chime off of this book because I want to get into the holy tablets where the master, because it just goes into guys, I highly recommend you guys to study this particular actual fact because it's very potent, it's very powerful, it's very, I can't stress it enough. Real quick, just so you can see, I want you guys to see this. This is on page 20 of the same book, right? It says, let's see. I'll read this one thing because you guys need to see this. It says, as you can see, the number 3 is the very bottom of the circle, thereby marking the climax and end of his evolution. Just as all fire has in time burned out by consuming matter, which it burns. 3 marks the end of the downward trend. Then the 9 force, which is revolution in space, matter, and time, sets in and pulls the circle upward, as you saw here from 2000. Much fire burnt upward. Now, it takes 72 million years for a complete circle of changes, guys. 72 million years. That's what I was trying to tell you before. So it's imperative that you know that. Meaning for the universe to go through a complete cycle, through all of these different cycles, because the universe is rotating and moving through all these energies. It takes the universe 72 million years to make a complete cycle. So it is imperative that you guys know that. Okay, so now, with all that being said, is there anything else from this? No, I think I covered. Just so you see that the basic 3 in Nuwapian culture, Wu Nuwapu, is Wu Nupu, Asa Nupu, and Naba Nupu. That's important also to know that, because the culture, the culture was Nupu, right? Everything is based on Nupu. That's why that's why I use the name Nupu. Nupu stands for sound right reasoning. That's why when the master he put out, we've got this new book that the master put out. If I can find it right here, this book right here, I talked about it before. It's the Proverbs of Yanun. This was a new book that came out not too long ago called the Proverbs of Yanun. Okay. And right here, I talked about this before, and just as a reminder, our culture of animism, Wu Nawab, Wu-Sabat, Sabatism, Sabaism, Sabaism, all the same, right? Under here, Nupu, and on the other side, Zupu. You see that? So you have Nupu and you have Zupu. Okay, so Nupu stands for order, which is Ma'at, and Zupu stands for chaos or Leviathan, which is destruction. It is imperative that, we remember that. We used to know it. Unfortunately, we forgot. Now, I want to get into the holy tablets because it touches on, remember, we're dealing with ontology, which is the science of existence. These are the things we used to know. We used to have universal knowledge. Now we don't have universal knowledge anymore. We don't know how existence operates any longer. We used to know these things and we forgot. because we was put under the spell of Leviathan. We live in the culture of Leviathan, and we got to get back to right knowledge. So here in the Holy Tablets, guys, we're going to start reading the Holy Tablets. We're going to start at page 66. This is what is this? Tablet 7. I'm going to start at tablet 7, verse 33. All right, it says floating objects are drawn and sucked into the center. It's talking about black holes, guys. So black holes will absorb any stray matter or energy that passes within a certain range of its horizon, including light. Dwarf stars, which are also dark brown, are made of protons. Novas are stars that explode and become thousands of times brighter and then becomes dim again. The white dwarf is a small white star with a large amount of material packed into an extremely small space. A white dwarf star is about the size of the Earth, but weighs as much as the sun. The weight of the sun's outer layers compress the gases of the innermost region to a density about 100 times that of water and raises the central temperature to about 15 million Kelvin or 27 million degrees Fahrenheit. Then there are the supernovas, an extremely bright star exploding suddenly appear in the sky, generally decreasing rapidly in brightness. Giants have a relatively large radius for its mass and temperature, and supergiants are any relatively enormous stars with a greater magnitude than a giant star. Their lifetimes are short in comparison to other stars. Some of the smaller stars are called neutron stars, which are made up of entirely of neutrons, a collapsed star of tremendous density. A light year is the distance light can travel in 1 year. Light travels at approximately 886,000 miles per second over the period of 365 days of the solar year. And then there is a lunar year of 354 days at a solar year. That means light travels 100 million, 5.8 trillion miles per second each 31 million thousand years. I'm paraphrasing because I'm not reading the whole numbers. Just so you know. This supernova was part of a cluster. All clusters move away from each other. A cluster is one of many groups in which galaxies exist, guys. 19 to be exact, on this side of the massive black hole whose vortex opens every 10 Earth years. Now, this is very important. And in the center of every galaxy, there is a supermassive black hole in the center of every galaxy. It's imperative that you know that. Also, next to this black hole, there's also a supermassive alpha, what we call an alpha star, a mega star, which is what birthed the galaxy, right? Because stars give birth to other stars by way of, they have what they call nebulas. These are nebulas that move throughout the galaxies, and they give birth to stars. And these alpha stars that, they produce these nebula, excuse me. Okay, so there's a vortex open every 10 years. So let's keep going. This vortex allows you to travel interdimensionally through these portals in time and space, which open on Earth every 10 years. That ends with the number 3 because time is speeding up. You get caught in time. Okay, guys. So when beings are able to travel interdimensionally, what they're talking about is that beings are coming from other realms. So they're either coming from a 4 ether realm, or they're coming from a 5 ether realm, or they're even coming from a 9 ether realm. and they're coming into a 3 ether realm, and then they're traveling through these black holes. Do you understand? This is where you get into the whole ET phenomenon. For those who are not familiar with it, I tell everybody, we did a lecture on that. Definitely check out the lecture we did on UFOs, ETs, and the interdimensional reality. We did, I think, a good discussion on that. So, I'm always telling, definitely check that out. But so this to give you some insight about, how these things work. I hope you guys understand. I have never understood how we as Sabians define galaxies. They say there are trillions of galaxies, so why do we teach that there are 19? You'll see. I'm gonna get it. You'll see. I'm gonna keep reading. He explains it, Zamal. So let's keep reading. So it says, let's go back to where it started, right? So you got 83, 73, 63, all the way to 1943, when the opening of the vortex with the invention of a time machine in the Philadelphia experiment. The next year of the opening of the vortex will be 2003. So this was, the master wrote this, guys, just for those who don't know. He wrote, I think this came out in 1996. Okay. And so he was explaining that for those who want to know more about the Philadelphia experiment and our writings on that, we put out the book, The Man from the Planet Risk, and the master teacher goes into great detail explaining that. But they had that project with Nikola Tesla and Dr. Einstein, Albert Einstein. They created this time machine and research it. They did a movie on it, guys. It's a lot, but they basically open a portal, and that portal opens up every 10 years. It's opened up. They opened it up in 1943, and it opens up every 10 years since then. And the portal, you can travel through the portals. Is what the master teacher is trying to explain. When that portal opened up, ETs were traveling through those portals. Okay. All right. So let's keep going. So now your time warp started in 1940 with the Philadelphia incident. This experiment is what caused a vortex to open up, causing extraterrestrials to come into this dimension because of the magnetic pull from the big generators that supply the energy for the invisibility project in Philadelphia. They was trying to turn a battleship invisible, the government at that time. The vortex can be opened by extraterrestrials from the 6th density, from their time reference. See that? The 6th density. They're coming from a 6 ether realm, guys. Look at the smash circle. You see 6? That's where those beings are coming from. Okay? Now, and one such incident occurred June 6, 1966, which was the birth date of 13 sons who were born to the devil. All these types of malevolent beings came through to Earth during this time. The Philadelphia experiment was an experiment to accomplish teleportation of a warship, the USS Eldridge, from Philadelphia to a dock near Norfolk, Virginia, by using Albert Einstein's unified field theory. This experiment originally began in 1930 in Chicago, Illinois, with a team of scientists. He goes into the name of the scientists. I'm not going to read that. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so he was saying that, so in trying to link up the USS Eldridge, an object versing the biorhythm of a living entity, the human body and the Earth, which had its half peak at that time, caused the problems. The scientists had no understanding of the human psyche, such as love, nor the metaphysics of the Earth. So also has a biorhythm like the human body, because it also is a living entity. Guys, this is what we're saying. In our culture, we used to be in harmony, in tune with these forces. Okay, so it's imperative that we understand that. So he goes into, in detail about the Philadelphia experiment. I'm not going to read that because time is out of hand. I'm not going to read that. He just talks about the whole project and what was going on with that project. So let's see. Okay, so he goes on to say here, verse 72. He says, after a universe collapse. Oh, man, should I back up? Yeah, okay. Let me back up. I'm sorry. I skipped too much. All right. Zero. Okay. For humans, it is the point at which he's talking about your zero time. All humans have a time reference. Now they're locked at zero time reference, which is a set time created during the beginning of an experiment. For humans, it is the point at which every individual is conceived, and it continues on to the gestation period until they're born. It is locked to the time stream, as he calls it, and it is locked so that he can relate to society and civilization around him and flow at the same rate as everyone else, and has a reference that remains with him throughout his or her life until he or she dies, at which the soul goes on and can come back, reincarnate theoretically in the past or the future. So again, let's go back to the smack circle. So what the master is trying to say is every human that's born into a 3 ether cycle, you're locked into this realm, into this plane. So our bodies are vibrating at this dimension, at this frequency. Because if we were born in a cycle of 4 ether, you'd be locked into that realm. If you was born in a cycle of 5 ether energy, you'd be locked into that realm. So it's imperative that you know that. So we're, all of us who are born into a 3 ether realm, we're locked into this realm. Okay, our energies, our body is vibrating at this realm, but we originally come from a 9 ether realm, and the master's trying to teach us how to raise ourselves up so that we can exist in a 9 ether realm, resurrect. Most people, because of our desires, our love, our attachments, we lock ourselves to 3 ether so that when we die, we wind up reincarnating and coming back to this realm, because we never resurrect, we never raise our vibration, because we don't do nothing spiritual. Remember, the Mukasu is a materialist, so he doesn't teach you anything about spirituality. He keeps teaching about materialism that keeps us locked. As ontologists, we're supposed to know this. We're supposed to understand existence and how existence operates. This is the right knowledge we used to have. We forgot. Okay, so let's get back. All right, so now let's see. But this time reference is sometimes fragile when you start pumping megawatts of power and actually pulse to the gigawatt region, the type of energies that will affect the psyche, the mind, the spirit. You disrupt these references. So he's talking about in the Philadelphia experiment, when they did that experiment, for those who do not know, the people that it raised, everyone who was on that ship, their vibration raised up. They were raising up into an energy vibration. And when this experiment stopped, and they stopped with the energy, because they had these generators. When they turned off the generators, the energy shut down. But what happened was the people who was on the ship, when the energy shut down, because they were in tune, those people weren't in tune with their own morphic resonant energies. Some of the people were blended into the ship. They were blended, like people's arms were embedded in the ship, because it fused with the ship, because all of the material on the ship, it rose, the energy rose up. Guys, watch the movie, because they kind of show it. The movie came out, I think, in the 80s, the Philadelphia experiment. They made a part 2, but it wasn't that good, I don't think. But the first one was pretty good in the 80s, and it shows you that people, they were embedded in the ship. Guys, their bodies were embedded, and that some of them survived and others of them died, because they weren't, they weren't used to making those energy adjustments. Okay. All right. So he goes on to see. So they don't. he's talking about their energies are off, so they don't float off into space at that point. But when the ship field comes down and those individual references are below and behind the barrier, which was in the hull of the ship in the radio room where Duncan and Balak were, these were scientists who were on the ship. They were protected. He's basically saying. So let me keep going. This interdimensional travel is nothing new. We have been doing this for millions of years, which allows beings from other worlds, galaxies, or universes to incarnate here. Let me explain. Most of the crafts, he's talking about ET crafts, exposed to you here on Earth are designed aerodynamically, showing you that they were created and built right here for this atmosphere, or there would be no need for their saucer ship. There'll be no need for the saucer ship, which is to cut its way through the air. Now, however, the Nubarian fleet, he's talking about the master's crafts, are crafts that travel to and fro in time and space and even interdimensionally, altering time and facilitating the principle of now. Once you're moving faster than the speed of light. So these beings are able to travel again interdimensionally, and they're moving through the cycles into other realms because the ships that they travel on are able to make the energy adjustments as you're moving into another realm. Okay, that's the type of technology they have. So he goes on to say, let's see where we at. After a universe collapse, it in its center or contracts, it expands, which is an explosion called a Big Bang, producing the sound kha, from which the word khaluk, create, comes from, right? That's why ancient Kemet, the creator of the human beings, they call them khanum. That's the same word, khanum. And that's where the Arabs use that word khalaqa. And they got that from, it's an Egyptian word, guys. So the disoccurrence of contraction and expansion is something that happens all the time, which is also why there is no real line of division between galaxies, guys. They overlap each other the way bubbles connect to each other, just as the planes do. Okay, so galaxies are connected, but even though a galaxy can be connected, you have one galaxy could be vibrating in a 3 ether realm, and the other galaxy could be vibrating in a 6 ether realm or a 9 ether realm. Okay, so it's imperative, guys. If you watch, just look up the astronomy, and they have a bunch of pictures of galaxies, and they'll show galaxies phase into one another. Okay, so keep that in mind. I'm sorry I don't have pictures to show you, but they do have them. Let's see. So he goes on to say, it is the same sound that each being that comes into this world as the womb contracts to yield for birth. So he's talking about the birth of the universe makes that sound, the ch sound, and it's the same sound babies make. The master always taught about, that the babies make a gurgling sound, and that's a tone, that's a tone. He said they remembering that tone when they incarnate, when the child comes into this realm, they remember that. So he says, it is the same sound that each being that comes into this world as the womb contracts to yield for birth, and the baby gurgles out gha or kha, remembering the sounds of chaos and creation. As one thing comes into existence, it fractures other things to form itself. It is a gradual process of development in the womb, as the sounds of an octave. Each C note of each octave is the same C note vibrating on a higher or lower scale called tones. An octave is 8 notes, and all of the sounds inclusive of sharps and flats within one octave is 13. The ninth point is the actual birth, and the new being creates for the first time for all to hear his or her own tone. Such is the way of the universe and galaxies. Now, each universe begins expanding and growing larger until it reaches a point where it bounces off of other expanding universes and begins to contract. This is only to collapse and explode again, creating or reconstructing new universes, guys. So this is how universes come into being. Also, he's explaining. Atoms and cells all do the exact same thing the human body does. As below, so as above, so below, guys. Remember that. It grows, expands until it collapses. You call it death, which is merely a sickness that can be cured. So universes does the exact same thing. It dies. When a universe dies, it explodes and causes the reverse of an explosion. The space between galaxies is always getting bigger. So billions of years ago, galaxies were closer and closer before expanding. So remember when I was telling you about the smash circle, and I was showing the other diagram when it goes down to 3 to 2 to 1 to 0, that was the universe collapsing, explodes, and it goes into primordial chaos. Okay? So now it says there had to be a point of starting. This would have all the galaxies crunched together into a small space. This would have been 76 trillion years ago. The small dot or nugut exploded, and this was called the Big Bang, resulted in expanding, then collapsing of the universe. This sound is cha, which distributes the ayun tone of the original. This caused the explosion of positive, low-pitched tones, dark tones, and negative forces, high-pitched tones, bright tones, causing the negative and positive forces to clash into each other by the will of, we said Elion was Pa'ut, who is outside of your time zone. Your time zone is second to second, minute to minute, hour to hour, day to day. Yet each day of your days is 1,000 years to Elion. We say Papa, guys. Day, making it hard for you to understand just how Papa exists. For the pure sound of Om, which predates the bang, is covered in the chaos of creation. And you must seek this tone, Om, to align yourself. Guys, we used to be in harmony with this tone and what the master teacher is saying. This is the tone of creation. And the goal is to become in tune with this creative force again. Once we're in tune with the creative force, we'll be in tune with all of the different energies and the different cycles, right? Because we're not in tune with anything no more. That's why we're not aware when the planet it goes through these different phases, the hurricanes, the volcano eruptions, the tornadoes, the tsunamis, all of these things. We would be in tune when things like that was happening. That's why animals they know when the tsunami is coming. That's why they move. Or, even like the birds, right? The birds know when to move south because winter's coming. They're in tune with nature. We used to be just in tune. We're not, because we're living a culture that puts us out of harmony, out of tune with nature. I talk about it all the time. They want us in tune with football and basketball and making money and starting a business and doing this and doing that. They keep us preoccupied. Materialists, remember, they keep you bound to materialism, to the material realm, so that their spirit forces can live off of us, can keep possessing us. This is what this is all about. We used to know this, and you get locked to this time stream, to this third dimension, and our people keep reincarnating. And you can't move up the smash circle. You can't move into the higher abodes because you never did any of the things spiritually to allow you to move into the higher realms. because of the culture. It locks you in. All right, let's move on. I'm gonna skip because time is killing us. All right, I'm gonna skip to here. This is because I want to address the question the brother asks about the galaxies. Also, he goes into it. So it says your planet called Earth is within the 18th galaxy called the Milky Way because of its disc-shaped dense mass of stars, which has millions of stars and light from the planet called Earth. The sun, stars, and a reflected light of the moon from the sun produce much needed illumination for the earth. One takes up where the other leaves off. Yet this is only made possible by the motion of these heavenly bodies. It will take 30,000 years to go from the earth through the Milky Way at Earth's speed. Each individual conceived has a zero time reference from the moment of inception or the moment of incident. Let's see. In the pure and holy darkness, before cause or effect, before right and wrong, good and evil, before chaos and conception or process or growth, in the impure and unholy light of this world, where there is will, good and evil things happening. That point is real time in each individual's existence in the physical world. From conception is fake time. You exist in what's called set time. You set the time from life to death. It all exists before you and will exist after. You and your life is only a point or short space in real time, which exists in all when the light or life is cut on. He's just talking about the difference between like the timeline we're locked into. This is basically fake time as opposed to real time. When you move into the other realms, you move into the realms where real time, you'll be in tune with those forces and you'll be aware of real time. Right now, we're not aware of real time. Okay, in this three ether realm we're in, we're locked by the sun, moon of our solar system, and we're not in tune with the other realms of in the other timelines. So it's a fake kind of time, guys. We're not in tune with the real timelines, guys. So this is what he's talking about. But this is not where I wanted to go. So he's talking about here that when beings enter ETs, he's talking about when beings enter into our planet, they travel interdimensionally using real time. And that's why they can pop up anytime within your zero time or fake time. Zero time is the first time for each individual as they come into this world, being born in real time. So, right, you're coming from the realm of real time, but when you're born into a three ether realm like this, this becomes set time. Okay. And it's totally different when you go into the higher realms, the higher dimensions, not the planes of existence I was telling you guys about. When you go into the fourth, and this is where the ETs are. They're coming from a 4 ether realm or 5 ether realm or 6 or higher. Okay. Says if humans try to and travel past the speed of light, their G-force would cause them to explode. They would have to learn travel at the speed of light and controlling the G-force, right? This is why we have to raise our vibration in order for us to move at those realms, because this is how fast these beings are moving. So you have to have a light body. You know, I wanted to get into that, but we're not gonna have no time to do it. To talk about that. But let me keep going here. So that is the forces that affect the body as it escalates in speed. It in relation to how 1 G affects the body per second. AG is a unit of acceleration equal to the acceleration caused by gravity at the Earth's surface, about 33 feet per second. Now, the Milky Way, part of a spiral galaxy, is inside of the universe and is very minute. The light from the sun comes to the earth. Light travels from the sun in 8 minutes and approximately 20 seconds. Some say 4 minutes. Your universe consists of 19 galaxies. Here's the key, guys, to the brother's question. Your universe contains 19 galaxies. There are 1 billion other galaxies. Okay, there are 1 billion other galaxies. The distance in your universe reach up to 26 billion light years. Your universe is the smallest and innermost of 7 universes, which are part of a galactic federation of 19 galaxies. This is why he's talking about the 19 galaxies, guys, because we're part of a confederation of 19 galaxies, although the universe contains billions of galaxies, right? If not more. So the reason why he talks about the 19 galaxies because we're part of a confederation and we're connected to 7 universes. Again, as ontologists, we supposed to know these things. We used to know these things. We forgot about existence. And so when he says your universe is the smallest and innermost of 7 universes, they're connected. And so the other universes are operating or vibrating in the other realms of existence, the higher planes. And the masses, they know how to travel through that, and we used to know how to travel. We forgot, and this is what we're trying to we're trying to teach and re-educate how to travel interdimensionally. But you have to understand how these planes operate, the vibrations, the different vibrations, and how the human body relates to those things. Let me see. One last thing I want to cover. Okay. So we go to the book. This is the book, The Science of Creation. Let's see real quick. What are cycles? A cycle, according to the American Heritage Dictionary, an interval of time during which a characteristic, often regularly repeated event or sequence of events occurs. Okay. So he says, as you recall, your history must renew itself every 24,000 years, which consists of 4 cycles: 2 sun cycles or gold cycles, 2 moon cycles or silver or grayish cycles. The entire universe moves around these 4 cycles. Your entire solar system is a part of a bigger system known as the Milky Way, which moves every 24,000 years. So everything is based on cycles. And as I said before, the universe, it goes through its cycles. It takes 72 million years for the universe to go through its cycles. And each cycle, like from 3 ether realm to 6 ether east, that takes 18 million years. From 6 east to 9 north, that takes 18 million years. 9 north to 6 west, 18 million years. And from 6 west to 3 south, 18 million years. And so that's the cycle that the universe goes through. Okay? So that's imperative that we know that. And it's always, and here's the point, as it's going through all these different cycles, it's always fluctuating from a moon cycle to a sun cycle, moon cycle, sun cycle. The sun cycle is when the sun energies are potent, more potent, and this is the power of non-ether. And when it gets into a moon cycle, it's like winter. The energies are weaker. So weaker spirit forces are able to rule and do their things. And so it's a constant back and forth, right? From summer to winter, it's a constant back and forth. Everything in existence operates this way. Okay. So it's imperative that we know that. Now, in order to be able to travel, in order for humans, to be able to travel through the different realms and planes, is you have to understand planes in reference to your body. And so this is page 14, the science of creation. It explains that, and this is imperative that we understand how you can raise your body, to move into these other realms. It says the highest and lowest form that has been detected, talking about planes, is that of vibration. Everything is vibration, which manifests itself in different moods and schemes. The expression of a vibration is called a mood. Each mood acts and reacts continuously, carrying out the life process. These moods make up what is known to us as planes. Planes are moods and schemes of vibration, existing in very unique and unified forms. Moods of vibration may be likened to the varying degrees of temperature, such as extremely low. The natural mood of vibration ranges from very high and fast to very low and slow. There are 7 planes. The lowest and slowest is the material plane, while the fastest and highest is the plane where one is in total union with the all, or pa-pa'ut. Okay, so you have the material plane, and that's the plane that we're on, guys. This is the slowest realm. So again, we're looking at the smash circle. The material plane is the 3 ether realm. As you're moving into the higher dimensions or the higher realms, the higher planes of 4, 5, the energies, everything vibrates higher. So you got a plane of force, spiritual plane, mental plane, the plane of divine truth, the plane of divine reality, and then you become connected to the creative force, pa-pa'ut. Okay? So the most common mistake is imagining planes as layers of strata or fine matter laying one above the other in space. This is incorrect. Planes are distinct and intricate moods of vibration woven into one another so uniquely that one cannot determine where one plane begins and the other ends. Nothing in creation rests. Everything you hear, taste, or feel vibrates. Keep in mind that the 7 heavens or planes have 7 subplanes, and each of these subplanes have its own 7 subplanes, guys. And so we are embedded right now, sitting in a material plane. We're embedded into the plane of force. It's just that we're vibrating at such a low rate. We're not perceiving, our senses are not perceiving it, because we don't do none of the things, the spiritual work, to perceive these other realms. It's all around us, guys. I talk about this a lot. It's all around us. And as ontologists, we're supposed to be aware of these things. We're supposed to be in tune with these things, because we're supposed to understand existence. He goes on to say, the material plane is the plane upon which human beings dwell. This plane is partly made of solids, liquids, and gases. Now, you may feel that everything that exists only on the physical plane, meaning that nothing extra exists outside of this plane. Unfortunately, you are wrong. If you think that the answers to all puzzling occurrences and strange phenomena are to be found in this world, then you are mistaken. Contrary to what you may imagine, there is still much yet to be discovered on this plane. Western scientists limit the physical plane to just three substances: solids, liquids, and gases. However, there are many more forms or states of being within the physical plane than just the three mentioned. It is obvious that the higher forms of matter are unknown and unfeasible to Western science. Okay, so they, again, remember the Mukasu, they're materialists, so they're not in tune with the higher realms. This is what the master's really trying to say. This fourth classification is called ultra gaseous matter. It is also known that beyond this fourth classification or subplane of matter, there are still three higher and more intricate subplanes, of which the scientific speculators of the Western world have no idea. The physical plane, the lowest of all planes, has the least and slowest speed of vibration. The more one becomes involved with the physical aspects of life, the less the chances are for elevation. Right? So the more you become in tune, attached to the physical, it's you can't elevate, you can't raise up because of which our desires locks us in. It's what the master keeps trying to say. So you are far from elevation from this bottommost state of existence where all is given to low desires. If human beings are to achieve this rising or elevation, you must struggle with sincerity, faith, facts, discipline. The lower division of the physical is made of solids, liquids, and gases, which is able to be detected by your five foremost physical senses, which are really one. So he goes into different senses we have in our higher senses, guys, of telepathy, intuition, psychometry, clairvoyance. These are higher senses that we used to have. We're not utilizing them anymore because we lost our spiritual science, guys, right? We lost access to our barothoric gland. Okay. Question. Let's see. Are the seven planes the same as the seven universes? No, they're not. They're not the same as the seven universes, although each universe could be vibrating on one of those planes or close to them. Okay. So, for instance, let me explain this, right? The master is talking about solid. This realm is made of solid, liquid, and gas, but that's not really true. The master's saying that in this book because, because it's hard to explain to people what he really means by existence. But let's go to, let's see, the man from the planet Risk. Let's go to that particular scroll. Here we are, the man from the planet Risk. Okay. And this is a particularly really good book because he's talking about another planet. All right. And this is another planet in another galaxy. And they're in the other galaxy. We're in the 18th galaxy. And we're talking about the planet Risk is in the 19th galaxy. And that's of a different plane, a different vibrational realm. He's going to go and explain what it's like to be on that kind of planet. So let's check this out. Question. Is there ever a point where the three suns are an equal distance from Risk at the same time? He's talking about our planet Risk, home planet, has three suns. It's a tri-star solar system, right? So he says, yes, there is a perfect point where Risk is an equal distance from every sun. At this point, all natural inhabitants live by the law of 1 meal a day, which means they eat once in 3 years, which is once a year, which is once a day. Now, the Drago and visitors live by laws according to their planet. This perfect point is also the hottest and brightest point, also called the full light or unilateral point of the year, also compared to 1,000 years, which is equal to 1 day. Now, It is also at this same time or point they perspire and transform from Riskian to Etherian and from Etherian to Riskian. You transform too. Every time you perspire, something leaves from your body. You do this just one time within, they do this just one time within their 1 year, which is 3 years because they have 3 sons. They don't have children and have no understanding of children, guys. This is important and culture wise. The Etherians protect the Riskians with a dome they built for them to live under. Everything else lives under the water. The native Riskians can't live underwater because they breathe, right? Question. You said native Riskians? So does that mean other kinds of beings live on Risk? Answer. Yes. First, let me explain that all beings that live on Risk are Riskians, just as you are all humans or earthlings that live on Earth. They are concerned with 2 abodes. The Riskians are physical beings evoluting towards Etherians, energy or light beings. The Etherians, who are the guardians, are equivalent to what you call spiritual or angelic beings. Their main concern is the intellect. Some reptilians are there also, and various other species of beings live there as well. Question. Does the planet Risk have different continents like Earth? Answer. Yes. We have 3 continents that have mountains, plains, and deserts. However, on Risk, they live in dimensions, guys, which would be compared to solid, liquid, and gas that you claim you have on Earth. In actuality, water is a solid. Solid is a solid, and gas is a solid having minute particles. So in Earth, there are no liquid and gases. Earth is a world of matter. What you Earth beings don't want to accept is that this whole planet, including the beings on it, are all a part of a living organism moving through space. It is alive, a living mass of matter, even down to the energies like electricity, which is a form of matter. Positive and negative charges are atoms. And at the base of atoms, there are solids called protons, neutrons, and electrons. So your atoms are matter, and your atoms are made of the same thing. So, guys, what he's trying to explain again, because as you move around, what we're really thinking is liquid and gas. They're really material, solids. Okay. As you're moving into the higher realms, other ether realms, you're gonna experience other material, which is really would be liquids and gases that we're not really experiencing on this realm, because this realm is really a realm of matter. It's a very low dense environment. As you're moving into other galaxies and other realms and other universes, the energies change. So, I thought that was extremely important for you guys to know that. So, question. So, what you're saying is what the Dragon Ball Z is actually showing in a cartoon version, a Japanese. I never watched that cartoon, but my son did. My son does. He used to tell me, him and my brother, they both used to tell me that what was going on in the Dragon Ball Z cartoons was similar to some of the things we were teaching. But I never watched the cartoon, so I never I never learned about what the cartoon was about. And I'm a cartoon guy. I just didn't like Dragon Ball Z. I like Justice League and the Avengers cartoons and things like that. But I didn't like the graphics and the Dragon Ball Z stuff. So I never watched it. But again, I'm trying to explain, as ontologists, we used to understand existence. We don't understand existence any longer. And this is what we're trying to explain here. what existence is all about, how existence really is. We are on earth trapped in a material realm, and existence is far greater than just this low vibration material realm. That's what I'm trying to explain. And we're supposed to notice, but we live a culture that binds us to materialism. We're all chasing after money. We're chasing after, status and jobs and food and clothes, and we're obsessed with it. Guys, as we teach, live, how can I say? What do we say? Be in the world, not of the world, right? Live in the world, but not of the world, not be consumed by the world, meaning you're here to experience this realm, but not be a slave to this realm. You're here to live. I'm not saying not to live your life. Live your life. Enjoy being on the third dimension, but acknowledge that you're on the third dimension, and acknowledge that you also can go to the other realms. That's what we're trying to say. We're not trying to say, that you shouldn't be here. You should be here because you're here. But you should understand the place of being on this realm, because there are other levels and realms of existence. But the materialists will never teach you that, because they're not in tune. They're bound to this material realm. The Mukasu is bound to this realm. And that's why they won't tell you or teach you about the other realms. And they're trying to figure out how to break out of this realm. They're trying to use it through technology. We don't need to use technology to get out of this realm, because we have the ability genetically. And that's why the Mukasu is hell bent on destroying our genetics. And that's why they're pushing miscegenation, mixing in our bloodline. It weakens us. Every time we mix in with another race, a weaker genetics, it weakens us and makes it harder to connect to the other realms. And they know that. Every time we get a disease, every time you do anything to alter your genetics, it locks you into the 3 ether realm, and it makes it harder for you to connect to the higher realms, guys. So I hope, we understand that. I had so much more, but we don't have no time. We had no time, because just so you know, because we really needed to get into let's see, the actual facts. No, the Master Secrets number 2, called the Black Dot. This goes into existence and creation is blackness, and what that is. So I highly recommend looking at this actual facts. Also, what do we have here? Which one is this? Actual facts number 46, intelligent design, divine design, and plot of aliens. It also touches on this. We go into the morphic resonant frequencies. And then you have natural ether energy. This is very important, because, again, we're trying to explain that existence is based on these ether energies, and he's changing ethers. You're going from 3 ether, 4 ether, 5 ether, 6 ether. So the master is wrote this particular actual facts to explain this, right? And he says right here, our divine science from what our ancestors called Nu, right? Nu or Noon, and have newts here. The energies, the particles, we call them newts, right? Or some say brain newts. Okay. And so we used to understand these different energies that all of existence is based on. That's why the master kept saying, pay attention to what they're trying to talk about in quantum mechanics, because in that they're letting you know that all of existence is energies. Okay. So we have this whole actual facts. This book goes into explaining these different energies, these realms, guys. Yeah. Kepler, you're actually right. I sure could. I could spend weeks on this subject matter. It's a lot. It really is a lot. And it's a lot, guys. So I keep we just gotta study. It's a lot, man. It's a lot, guys. It really is. And I'm sorry we don't have the time to really tackle this subject, and it's because it's such an extensive subject matter. It really is. But I hope we did good in introducing a lot of the concepts. I hope you guys get the theory behind what we're saying, which is what it means to be an ontologist, one who understands existence. Right? Existence is based on the SMAT circle, the cycles, and the different changing energies, and how you go from one realm to another realm. Okay. And we have the ability as children of these non-ether forces to move up into these other realms. We just have to learn how to raise our energies to do it. Right, guys? And so, with that being said, we're going to close out because it's about that time. I just pray this was informative. It was helpful. And as I always say, definitely watch our lectures more than once. So definitely research, the what we're saying here in this discussion. Take your time because it is a lot. It's a lot of information. So definitely take your time, study what we're saying here. And I'll be back next week, of course. If you have any questions along the way, do not hesitate to ask. So with that being said, we close out with our prayers, our 9:00 prayer system and ritual. We do this every, our prayers. For those who do not know, we do our prayer rituals at 9 a.m. in the morning to 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. And for those who awoke 3 a.m. And prayers about your, again, spiritual development, which is what we're talking about. For those who need more information on our prayers, I'm always recommending check out the lecture we did on why we pray and do rituals. It's imperative. But that's what today's discussion was trying to explain. So I hope people have a greater awareness why it's so important to do these rituals. With that being said, let's get started. Bade kalal namasat wufad ko aman kasamun shalal pu'ut. Pa takayud. Anuki Jawab Pa Ashuk M Pa Paut Wu Kalat Ashuk Kawun Jawefnia Anuki Kasamun M Pa Paut Wu Pa Paut Kawun Kasamun M Nia Anuki Wahu Ama Pa Paut Wu Pa Paut Kawun Wahu Ama Nia Naku Kador Naju Ama Kasamun M Pa Paut Wu Habu Ama Muskasun Naku Kador Kawan Kale Pafaf Naku Daya Jaweb Pa Paut Ama Wase Ama Dayani Kawun Lake Bakui Jaweb Pa Paut Anuki Yabab B Nafasni Pa Paut Kawun Anuki Pa Paut Kador Naku Kador Pa Paut Amu Naku Amu Lahehum Menahnu Lahehum Menahnu Ahumata Karehum, Ahumata Karekum, Ahumata Karenun, Ahumata Joefnia, Ahumata Nia Wu Anukihum, Yaye Ashuk Re'e, Asmua Jayenun, Yaye Nataru Afuknun, Anunata Mukra Ukum, Yaye Nataru Afuknun, Afuknun, Yaye Nataru Nun, Anun. Atun, Amun. Namazo Wahu, Yaye Mufaku. Yaye Hu, Yaye Nantaru. Yaye Soye, Yaye Nantaru. Yaye Hika, Yaye Nantaru. Ankum at the Pa Mufaku. Yayehu, Yaye Nataru, Ankum at the Pa Mufaku, Wu Anu at the Mukraukum, Wu Ankum at the Musanu, Yayehu, Yaye Nataru, Aro Muklasnum Atumbre, Ya Yehu, Ya Yehu, Ya Ye Nataru. Namazo Atu, Aroanhu. Ya Ye Mukdamu Afudnun. Ankum Mane Yakem Laduda Muslafunun. Wu Musaunun. Ya Ye Mane Yake Sawura Paba. Mane Yake Kawuna Ka'u. Mane Yake Ata Akhak. Mane Yake Kawuna Basha Wu Damam. Ya Ye Nataru Mukdamunun. Aro Muftadnun. Anhu Kawun Mazamane Pa Nataru. Aro Anhu. Anhu Kawun Baba Yananan. Aro Anhu. Anhu Kawun Atum Ra'e. Aro Anhu. Anhu Kawun Haro. Namazo Talu. Ya Ye Nataru Muslafunun. Afudnu Mane Pa Mujwa'u. Afudnu Mane Ga Ha'an. Ya Ye Nataru Afudnun. Mane Saya Gayara. Afudnun Afudniya. Afudnun Afudniya. Ya Ye Nataru Nun. Namazo Rabu Pa Tahmui. Nakuk Taluk Tahmui Bi Pa Nataru. Mane Pa Laen Lawi Tananu. Kale Ranam Atni at the Lahe Pa Nataru. Wu Kale Namazo Atni at the Lahe Kayad Atnun Leye Pa Nataru. Pa Sawa Wu Pa Turu. Panemasfa Kawun Pa Sawa Wu Pa Turu. Z Kawuna Nazula Lahe Enkum Mane Masba Wu Masa. Amade and Wu Damal Un Mane Muslafu Kun Wu Nataru Ajuleye Nafasu Kun Afuk Shane Kawun Kum Pa Sawa Wu Pa Turuk Pa Hadean Wu Pa Damal Anun Tawa Ankum Lahe Penen Damal Wu Shafe Anun Tawa Ankum Lahetem Nasuinun Anun Tawa Ankum Lahe Ashukuma Ankum at the Muslafunun Anun at the Mukraukum Anun Talub Nasar Kuma Anun Talub Nasar Kuma and so nun kahen notaru and so nun muslafunun anun ata muspatu anun atun atun amun yaye notaru nun yaye muftau yaye notaru Ya ye atum re, ya ye natar, ya ye nun, ya ye natar, ya ye nun tat, ya ye natar tat, ya ye ha, ya ye natar, ya ye ha tat, ya ye natar tat, ya ye kak, ya ye natar, ya ye kak tat, ya ye natar tat, ya ye amun, ya ye natar, Ya ye amuntat, ya ye natar tat, ya ye atun, ya ye natar, ya ye shishash, ya ye natar, ya ye tafaf natat, ya ye natar tat, ya ye sabab, ya ye natar, ya ye natat, ya ye natar tat, ya ye arash tat, ya ye natar tat, ya ye asar, ya ye natar, Ya ye nabab tat hatat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye satach, ya ye nathar, ya ye hara, ya ye nathar, ya ye haptwi, ya ye nathar, ya ye anaktat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye ha, ahatwi, ya ye nathar, ya ye nafartun, ya ye nathar, ya ye manthu, ya ye nathar, Ya ye bapti, ya ye nathar, ya ye sachem tat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye hata haratat, ya ye nathar tat, ya ye ba'ibis, ya ye nathar, ya ye patata, ya ye nathar, ya ye basas tat, ya ye nathar tat, Ya Ye Imhatap, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Hu, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Matat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Mahart, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Khafafre, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Miskinat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Hore Tat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Kintamin to you, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Hika, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Ma'at, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Hunanen Tat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye She, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Sashat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Maftat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Sabak, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Anap, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Hanum, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Hanas, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Patatanun, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Soye, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Haktat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Amas, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Saratwi, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Atun Re'e, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Dehutwi, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Patata Warat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Sakatat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Ha, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Nehebka, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Sakar, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Ba, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Akar, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Imharatat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Wapar Watat, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Sakhahatap Tat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Meri Tat Sakar Tat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Soye Tat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Garatat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Asat Inu, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Bahatat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Chanam Tat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Manak Tat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Chamem, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Mahatwi, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Kabebsin and Nafaf, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Dalmata Afaf, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Merdi Tat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Nasat, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Imdadad Tat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Nakakbatat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Sakatat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Anaktat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Dadad, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Tum, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Wahoo, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Yesas, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Anach, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Afnuit, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Satat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Sakatwi, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Imat, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Nana, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Imnuit, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Imsataktwi, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Mutaltat, Ya Ye Nathar Tat, Ya Ye Rahashafaf, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Monartwi, Ya Ye Nathar, Ya Ye Amun Re'e, Ya Ye Nathar, Yehu Anun at the Kalajawef Pa'ut, Nun Re'e, Tun Re'e, Tun Re'e, Mun Re'e. Yeah. Amun. 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 Judna 4. Okay, for those who do not know, as we go through the prayer system, at the end of it, I did a chant of Amun, and then after that chant, like you should chant it like really about 9 times. You're calibrating, you're getting your body like going through all this process because our mind, our body is basically is in that mindset and it's in a relaxed state. And so that's the time to go into a meditative state after this, And so as you're doing these things, it's imperative. So as we always say, prayer is our way to communicate with our ancestors, and meditation is our way to listen to their responses. And so that's why that process is set up like that. So it's imperative that we aware of it. So, but on that note, I hope all is good, and we covered a lot. And again, like I said, I'll be here next week, and we have so much to do, but we're gonna get it done. With that all being said, I wish you guys much peace, much love, much tranquility, and never stop in your journey for truth, because that's what we're all about, our journey for truth. On that note, we sign out. Why do movie saw? Why do movie saw? Why do movie saw?